Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It's time for live, full-time reaction to Celtic 1, Rangers 1 at Celtic Park. I'm joined by Kenny and Chris. Today, to go through the game, you can ask your questions in the live chat box below. We'll try and pick out some good ones as we go through. Kenny, would you reflect on that as an opportunity missed?
Yeah, I would. I mean, if you look at the statistics of the game, we've had more possession, we've had twice as many attempts at goal, we've had twice as many shots on goal. Those statistics don't lie. We were the dominant team in that game. I mean, it took us... What I wanted to see was coming right out the traps and right at them, because presumably they were carrying some fatigue from Thursday. That was physically and emotionally pretty draining for them. We've had 2 weeks off, so we need to take it to them. And we didn't actually. The first sort of 15, 20 minutes I thought was pretty passive. Nobody controlled the middle of the park. And we were letting them away with one there because they were sort of just meandering through a game that they didn't deserve to. But then 20 minutes in, I think we realised Balogun, we can exploit Balogun. He's all over the place at right back. He's not a natural right back. And we did that. Lovely threaded ball in for Eddie. Clip ball inside. Brilliant goal. And after that, it looked like we were going to kill the game. We took a stranglehold on it. We went for him again. We went for Balogun again. And he couldn't cope, all over the place. And on another day, we'll come and talk about the penalty, and I don't want to go over that right now, but on another day, we would have killed that game, early. But it's just the epitome of our season, isn't it? Have they had to work hard to get back into the game? If they put us under pressure with good skill and you just hold your hands up and say, fair enough, they've equalised? Nothing like it. We bluttered the ball out for a corner for the halfway line. They swing a ball in, and like any Sunday league game, a couple of headers later, you're level. And for me, I thought, after that, at half-time, are we even going to psychologically turn? How does that mean for us in the second half? To be fair, they came out and I thought they'd handled themselves pretty well again, creating a number of opportunities. We just couldn't get past McGregor. The ball wasn't sitting, falling for us. But I don't think the manager actually helped with substitutions. Why take Turnbull off late in the game? Turnbull, he wasn't a very good game. It wasn't a particularly good game. He can score from dead balls. He can put in great dead balls. That's an asset you need with 10 minutes to go. That's what you're relying on. Why take Moy off? Why leave Christie on? He was having an absolute nightmare, Christie. Moy and Eddie, brilliant link-up play. Didn't see that coming. They've not shown that chemistry at all before. I don't know where that came from. I'll welcome it, and hopefully we can utilise that towards the, in a Scottish Cup run. Overall, a bit flat. Ultimately, I think we deserve to win.
I thought the game was flat. I thought early on, the first 10, 15 minutes, the game almost looked like it could just have drifted by. Very strange for these sort of derbies, Chris, but I thought our pressing intensity wasn't quite there compared to the last game at Ibrox. We were maybe a couple of yards off where we should have been when Rangers were in possession. What do you make of that early part of the game?
Yeah, well, like Kenny said, he hit the nail on the head. It was very bizarre that we weren't, doing a high press and putting Rangers under pressure, given that they've had a lot of football over the last 2 weeks, and obviously going out of Europe to a better side. Prague with a better team, but like that's a dent for Rangers because they probably felt they had a realistic opportunity to make the last 8. So I was surprised, but as soon as we scored the goal and we realised we could exploit Balogun down that side, the game completely changed. And honestly, it should have been 2-0 before it was 1-1, and it could easily have been 3-0. We created a lot of chances because once we realised that that's how we could, and I got to give Callum props on the team news reaction. He said it. Rangers are vulnerable to the ball in behind, and that's where we exploited them all day between Laxalt, McGregor, El Yunusi, and Eddie. They were all rotating through that part of the Rangers defence. Yet over on the right hand side, Christie and Kenny were just an absolute disaster. A disaster. It's the complete opposite. It was like a Jekyll and Hyde, where I always felt like we were going to create chances against Balogun, so much so that Gerrard took him off after 55 minutes. Patterson didn't really fare any better. But yeah, I mean, that first 15 minutes, I can't believe we just didn't go after them. And the fact that we got the first goal was really a surprise, just given how the game had transpired up till that point.
Kenny, a theme that we've seen, I think, since John Kennedy's come back in and we've kind of reverted to the 4-2-3-1 shape, is Edouard drifting out to the left-hand side much more often than we'd previously seen. And we actually had an attacking corner, and the ball came out to Laxalt on the halfway line, and I was screaming at him not to go back to the goalkeeper because he was under no pressure. and he had a couple of passing options on, but he went back to Scott Bain. And then it was from that Bain, I think, gives it out to McGregor on the left-hand side, and the ball's in behind for Edouard, in behind Balogun. And it was a great cross. And to be fair to El Yunusi, who has underperformed in these games in his time here, a really good header.
Yeah, and when he picked the starting 11, I thought, that's not worked all season for us. Eddie up front and 3 in behind with Christie on the right. It's not worked at all. Christie has been somewhat effective in a diamond, but not in that system all season. So when he went with that, my heart sank a bit, and Christie turned out to be poor. But when I was surprised with the quality of Moy down that left-hand side, and you're right, Eddie's natural game is to drift. Eddie's kind of moulded himself into a striker that can do almost everything. He's not that physical a player, but he can hold the ball up. He can score from incredible skill goals. He can score all sorts of goals, and he can drift out wide. And I think what he needs is a foil to play off that. Griffiths sort of has that, and Moy has shown there that he can now play off him if Eddie drifts. So I think we need to start to utilise that towards the second half of the season, because they're good players, Moy and Eddie. They're class. And I thought he had a good game overall, Eddie. He slept a little bit in sort of 80 minutes with that ball in behind Goldson. I think he was flat-footed there, and he maybe could have wrapped the game up for us. But yeah, I think his drifting style was something that if Moy can read, that's going to be a real asset for us in the Scottish Cup.
And after the goal, Chris, you could see a real change. We did start to, our pressing was a bit better. We took control. We had multiple chances after that, and that was a really good spell for us in the game following the goal. And you just felt like we had, I said before the game, we need to take our chances when they come along, and we did. We took one, but then the 2 or 3 after the goal and that real spell of pressure, we just couldn't put them away. And we have the penalty claim, and in real time, you're absolutely screaming for it, and you're sure when the whistle goes that he's pointing to the spot. But he books Edouard for diving. What did you make it?
Only until I saw the replay did I think it wasn't a penalty. Like, I in the moment, I thought, just like yourself, Paul, you see, put the penalty decision to one side. Why is Edouard just not putting his right foot through that ball and sticking it in the net? Like, that's really the grievous mistake he makes there, right? He tries to take a touch to make it easier for himself, and then he gives the referee a decision. And not that I thought Willie Collum had a good game, but he probably did get that decision actually right. On the replay, he didn't really catch him, and it probably was a booking for simulation based on that. But then Edouard has another chance a few minutes later, after, to exactly what Kenny was saying. He dummies it for El Yunusi. El Yunusi plays a brilliant one-touch pass, Edouard, and then we're fouled by McGregor again. 5 minutes later, brilliant set-piece corner by Turnbull. El Yunusi with a header. McGregor makes another save, and you're just thinking, we need to put another one of these away, because, of course, the Celtic we've come to loathe all season turned up with that Rangers equalizer from a set-piece, which was just comical, schoolboy defending that we've been used to all season. Yeah,
we'll come to the equaliser shortly. My view on the penalty, there's 2 things. I know it seems glaring that Odsonne Edouard should just put his foot through it and smash it in. If Barisic just threw himself in front of him and he could have blocked it, and then he'd have said, if he'd only just kind of cut inside, he'd have got by him. Willie Collum is just a terrible referee. I can't stand him. I've never liked him. I've always thought he's a terrible referee. And while I think that Edouard did try and buy the penalty, and I probably err on the side that it wasn't a penalty, Willie Collum gave free kick after free kick after free kick after free kick today for nothing, really. He loves to give free kicks. There was an instant with Morelos early in the second half where he just jumps in the air. There's absolutely no contact on him. I think it's Christie that gets the foul given against him, but there's no contact at all. He booked Scott Brown for a challenge on Ryan Kent where there's little to no contact, but Kent just kind of flops in the air again. And then in added time, he gives Barisic a foul for nothing, really. He just jumps into Ryan Christie and then falls over. So I think if that similar situation had arisen outside the box and Edouard had cut inside Barisic just flung himself in front of him, dived in, and Edouard's gone over, he'd probably have given him a free kick. But it's in the penalty box, and he decides to book him for diving. Kenny?
Yeah, he's got lucky, Barisic. I mean, he didn't touch him, it would appear, but he's flailing out of control. You know, it's just through chance that he's not touched him. It's 6 inches either way, and he would have clattered them. You know, they'd lost all their shape there. Has Eddie dived? He might have done, but you're kind of forced to ride the tackle. So how do you judge that in the heat of the moment? I think on balance, he should have just not given a penalty and not booked Edouard. I don't think it was that theatrical that he should have booked him. Look, we need another show if we want to go over Willie Collins refereeing, abilities and the contribution that he's made to Scottish football over his career. But you need to be a good referee in these games because Morelos is a nightmare. He will try and he'll cheat in every possible way. He'll throw himself to the ground. He'll wind people up. And, Scott Brown is a bit of that as well in an Old Firm game. But Morelos is worse. And no, he didn't have a good game today for me.
Chris, we can come to it now, the equaliser. I mean, I said before our first goal, I'm screaming at Laxalt not to play it back to the keeper, and so it transpired that it actually started the build up to a goal. You just cannot even logically process what John Joe Kenny's trying to do. He's under a bit of pressure, but you're nearly on your own halfway line, and he's blasted it back to the goalkeeper, but it's not even in the goalkeeper's direction. It's just in the general vicinity. He's just booted it back to his own byline. And the ball goes for a corner. And it felt ominous because we all know how poor we've been for set pieces all season. And you just knew that had the Rangers goal written all over it because, as one of you have said already, there was not a lot in the game for Rangers at that time. I think it was pretty even maybe until we got the goal. And then we were dominant. We should have got another goal to make it 2-0. It's not like they were putting us under huge spells of pressure. We gift them a corner kick from being in possession on their own halfway line. And then Kenny again is ball watching when the cross comes in. And he's before the first contact, he's right there with Morelos. And then he takes a couple of steps to his right-hand side in towards the goal. And he's just staring at the ball. He's got no idea where Morelos is.
Yeah, there's a naivety about how we've defended set pieces all season, lads. And honestly, it was there again for all to see. We've gone with this zonal marking pish the entire season, and we have been burned over and over again. In Rangers games, in many other games in Europe and domestically, we go with this zonal approach, and we lose the first header, and Kenny, who gave away the corner stupidly, also doesn't follow Morelos to the back post. And because there's nobody even on the post, you don't even have a second opportunity after Morelos blows by Kenny to try and come out and head that away. It was so close to the goal line. I think he was 1 yard out when he put it into the roof of the net. It's crazy to me that when you know you've got a flaw, that you don't do everything possible to try and prevent it. So we keep going with this zonal marking. And to be honest, Rangers were equally terrible at set pieces today. We had a number of great opportunities in that second half, even including the first half, where we exploited them with their defensive frailties. They're not actually that great, despite the fact that they've got a phenomenal defensive record this year. Nobody's really gone after them and exploited them.
Kenny, you just knew with how this season's unfolded that when we have a good spell and we pass up good chances, that when we give the opponents an opportunity to get back into the game, that they would take it.
Yeah, look, your heart's in your mouth every time there's a cross ball. Rangers, look, to be objective about it, their strength is cross balls and it's their biggest weakness. So before the game, you're thinking that's clearly the biggest possibility of a problem for us. Barisic puts in a good delivery, he always has. But all we're asking is for basic organisation. I don't think we're asking for much more than that. And they just don't have it. I mean, at the first goal, who was he? Was it Scott Brown? It looked like he was trying to pick him up, but he couldn't. I mean, they've got towering centre-backs. Just be simple about it. Stick your tallest men on them and do something straightforward. John Kennedy himself was a good centre-half. Why is he educating them in this way that results in kamikaze defending? And then John Joe Kenny was just dreaming at the back post. You'd think, having given away the corner, he'd been on his toes enough to think, I've got to do my utmost here to see out this passage of play because I've caused it. It was a complete opposite. He was absolutely daydreaming. And they've scored a very, very simple goal. And if there's one thing that I'm glad to hopefully see the back of this season, the whole season's been terrible, but within that, one thing within it is cross balls into our box. My God, that's going to be some low-hanging fruit for the incoming manager to improve.
Yeah.
You would think so. I'll bring in this comment for Fraser Meaning. We always concede for corners, no one marking at the back post. So obvious if we can see it, why can't the coaching staff? And that's both derbies recently where we've lost a goal at the back post. There's not been a man on the post. I don't know what the predominant thinking is across European football now, but there's a lot of teams that don't put men on the post to lose 2 goals. I mean, if you think about the goal at Ibrox when it comes off McGregor, it's actually Morelos that's in the same position, following it into the net. He just got a touch on it today. You would think, Chris, that we would have seen that and been really switched on. And as Kenny says, I don't know if John Joe Kenny, I don't know if his head's gone after he's made that mistake from blasting the ball back, but he's clearly lost concentration.
Doesn't matter if he's lost his head, Paul. It's basic defending. You always check your blind side. You never let anybody beat you on the blind side. And then, again, I come back to the stupid system of how we defend. It's absolutely ridiculous that at this stage in the season, and let's be honest, guys, the 4 goals Rangers have scored against us this year, not one from open play. Not one. They have never carved us open and scored a goal from open play. They have all come from a set piece or a cross into the box. Like that's even more hard to take, right? Because as poor as we've been this year, in 2 of the 3 league games, we have been the better team. Beaton got sent off after 60 minutes, completely changed the game, gave up a goal from a corner. We were the better team today. We were in front. We were dominating. We gave a goal away from a corner. Like, it's when you start to really pick apart the minutiae of why we're not winning games or why we're not beating Rangers anymore. It just literally comes down to our inability to defend. That has been our problem. For the most part this year, we've been able to score goals from open play without too much issue. I know our goals to games ratio is definitely down than it was over the last few years, but that's because of just a sequential number of reasons you could give into. Losing games you shouldn't, you get low on confidence, the team is just not playing like they should, you've still got great players, but they're not feeling it, and then it just becomes a snowball effect. But to only lose 4 goals to Rangers, all from set pieces, it's just indefensible, really, and it makes it even harder to take. It really does.
Aye, it's been an Achilles heel all season. There's absolutely no getting away for that. Kenny, another thing we've seen all season is these drop-offs in the second half, and at half-time you're just thinking, if we can keep this intensity up, create a similar volume of chances we did in the first half, then you fancied that we would go on and win the game. And to be fair, in the first 15, 20 minutes of the second half, I thought we were still the better team. I don't think we had as many clear-cut chances as we did at times in that first half, but as Chris alluded to, I think Welsh got on a header for a corner, Edward had a header from a corner, he produced a good save for McGregor with a left foot volley. We were still the team in the ascendancy, but as you touched on already, the substitutions were a bit late in the game, and then probably coming into the last 10 minutes, we had really dipped and we had to do some defending.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did dominate that second half apart for the last sort of 5 minutes plus injury time. And there were clear-cut opportunities. I mean, Edward should have scored with a header. You know, he's not really known for his heading, but you've seen him score before. I think he should have buried that. He was a bit lacklustre when a ball came into the box in behind Goldson. We forced McGregor into him. Not sort of world-class stops by any means, but he was busy. You know, he was having to get on the end of things that were causing him a problem. So there's no doubt. I was a bit surprised, actually, that we kept up that level of attack on goal. But, you know, I think there's a mentality issue still there. In my heart of hearts, did I truly believe we would go out, make good subs in 60 minutes and kill that game 3-1? That's what we deserve to do based on the balance of play. In my heart of hearts, I knew it wouldn't happen because I think there's a mentality problem there. And I do think that there was a big issue with the subs. Why is he not? If James Forrest is fit enough to be in the bench, he played 10, 15 minutes against Dundee United 2 weeks ago. Presumably he's trained in full for a fortnight. Why not just bring him on with 30 minutes to go? He knows that fixture inside out. He's caused them problems his whole career. And you've got Ryan Christie, who looked like he couldn't trap a bag of sand for the entire game. And he stays on inexplicably while he's taking off Moy and Turnbull. he's not done himself any favours, I don't think, John. He's not going to get the job anyway, right? I don't believe. But he's not done himself any favours in these last couple of games, because I've been a bit surprised at how much he's sort of followed the Neil Lennon style sort of tactics and substitutions. He's had a chance there to put his own mark on the team, and he hasn't. So I don't think managerially we were helped out there. And, you know, with 5 minutes to go, I was pretty happy just to see it out in the end, because they had a few sort of corners, and, you know, we all know what happens when we get corners.
Aye, absolutely. You touched on the mentality there, and I think this season has done so much damage to the team's mentality. I think losing and dropping points in as many games as we have done has definitely eroded the sort of winning mentality we've been used to in the last few seasons. Chris, what did you make of the subs, and what do you think? What do you think should have been done differently, earlier, different personnel?
I promised I wouldn't swear on your channel anymore, so I won't tell you what I really think of the substitutions, mate. They were shocking. Absolutely shocking. Kenny said it earlier. Turnbull has the ability to make a clinical pass, put in a beautiful ball, yet the only thing Christie did for the entire game, other than him and Kenny fat around on the right-hand side and pass the ball to each other, or sometimes pass it out and have no clue how to get to the byline. Like, not once, sorry, I just have to vent for a second. Not once did Kenny put his head down and try to beat his man. Not once. I counted he might have had the ball 20 different times out in that position. And we were stretching Rangers because we were moving the ball really quickly. We dominated the middle of the park. So all you're asking for is just go at him. And Laxalt was fantastic today. But then you get to 77 minutes, and I'm thinking, okay, surely it's Christie coming off. He's done nothing in the game. You put Forrest out wide right, and you just tell him, give it your best, even if it is only 15 minutes. But no. On he takes off Turnbull, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, so then maybe Christie will come off at the next round of substitutions, and then it's 88 minutes, and he's bringing on Sorrow and Griffiths. But he takes off Edouard, who is your best player. Even if he hasn't scored, he made your goal, and he's been in and around it for the entire game. And it's just ludicrous. Those substitutions were just ridiculous, because Rangers were there for the taking today, and we were the better team. But doesn't matter. The result's 1-1, and they still remain unbeaten. Just very naive defending and very naive substitutions yet again.
I think before the game they would probably have been happier with a point than we would have been. Kenny, I suppose maybe the only solace we can take is that they can't match our Invincible seasons record, but we all know there's no comparison between those two seasons anyway. Where do we go from here? It's obviously international break. Now we're back into the Scottish Cup when we return. Again, I've got a just strange feeling about the rest of the season. I mean, I don't know what to make of the Scottish Cup, because we've been so indifferent all season, and I don't think, like you alluded to earlier, Kenny, can we really expect that we're going to go on and really perform and win the Scottish Cup? We just don't know what we're going to get.
No, I mean, at least it's something for us to focus on and play for. I think before that was reintroduced, we were basically saying, let's just play some young players and see out the campaign and give them a bit of experience. I don't think we can do that now. I think with another cup at stake, we've got to play our starting 11, even in these remaining league games, so we can shape ourselves for the Scottish Cup. I don't understand why Griffiths isn't in the team. I think Griffiths, based on his goal, Griffiths' goals per minute is excellent this season. I know he's not played much, and I think he's a real threat with Eddie up there. I do believe that is a bit of a sleeping giant we've got there, the two of them together. I don't really okay, he fell out with Lennon a couple of 2-3 months ago now. Can we just draw a line under that and get him back involved? Personally, I would start playing with the two of them up. If Moy can form the relationship that he did with Edouard today, I'd try and foster that. I would take Christie out the side tomorrow, and I would get Forrest involved on the right-hand side. There are options for us to try and shape something, but there's just so little time. And he appears incapable of solving the farcical defending. he's not able to do it. If I was him, I'd just revert back. I'd just get a textbook out about how to defend corners and literally go back to the most basic form of the game, because whatever system they've got that nobody can work out is causing chaos. So do I think we're going to win the Scottish Cup? I wouldn't put my money on it, but you know what? You can, worse teams than ours, the Ken Dalglish season, we won a cup. The John Barnes season, sorry, we won a cup with Dalglish at the end. You don't have to be world beaters to win a cup in Scotland. So at least it's something for us to focus on. But I would play our starting 11, strongest starting 11, right through to the death, and I would do whatever I possibly can to make our defending a little bit more simple.
Just on your point with the defending there, I know we're not at this level, but it's incredible the change in Chelsea's defending since they brought in Thomas Tuchel. They've conceded hard. I think he's been there 13 games now, and they've conceded less than a handful of goals. And that's from before he arrived under Frank Lampard, looking like they were going to concede 2 and 3 every single game. So you can see with that elite level of coaching, it doesn't really take long to come in and reinforce some principles and change a couple of things to totally almost revolutionise the way the team's defending. Chris, who's your man of the match today? Can you pick a standout?
I thought Diego Laxalt was superb. Honestly, that's his best game in a Celtic jersey. I thought he was absolutely superb today. Just what we've been asking for from him was just better decision making, right? Both in his tackling and when he moves forward. I actually thought that was by far his best game today. He looked really dangerous. Rangers caused us no trouble down that side of the park when he was defending, and he looked really, really dangerous. I just liked his all-round game and his energy. And his decision making on and off the ball was superb today. So, and I must say, Scott Brown actually had a tremendous game today as well in the middle of the park. We really did dominate the midfield, but I'd give it to Laxalt personally.
Kenny, can you pick one?
Yeah, I think Chris's comments are fair. Laxalt, Brown did deserve a mention. Laxalt was strong. He's been inconsistent, but he looked pretty silky at times. I think just to go with something different, I think Welsh deserves a mention. I think he wasn't at fault with the goal. He was pretty calm throughout. He does the simple things well. And in that type of environment, given the chaos that's all around him in the defence, I think he's worth a mention as well for man of the match. No obvious candidate.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there is an obvious standout candidate. I agree that Laxalt did have one of his much better games. For Celtic, I thought El Yunusi was good in spells. McGregor at times as well. Edward, I know he ultimately passed up a few good chances, but that link up on the left-hand side was the hub of all the threat that we really created. So I don't know who that means. I'm going with probably Laxalt. That is it. Like the video, comment your own thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you shortly for Twitter reactions. Cheers.